expected. 3.8%. Expectation was 3.4%. Are people just wrong? I mean, they're the ones going to the supermarket. They're paying food prices that in some cases, not all, but some cases are higher.
Well, I think what consumers are worried about is the uncertainty. The constant changes in the outlook for Iran are a big thing, because one of the things people really notice is price at the gas pump. And when you get over $4, people even get into self-rationing because they can't afford to fill up the tank all at once. So you start to have changes in behavior that come in as prices rise.
I mean, you've got oil right now, $110 a barrel. We'll flip it over to RBOB gasoline, which is really only the wholesale price.
Right.
Not even what people are paying. I've been in some states. I was just in Washington State, in Seattle. I was just in California, which has a higher price because of boutique fuel requirements. But RBOB up 5.5% today alone. 1 week up double-digit percentages. Year to date up 65%.
Yeah, I think that's frightened people. I think people are also frightened about AI. So people are worried on the one hand about inflation. They're worried on the other hand, will I lose my job to AI? And I think what you're really seeing in the consumer sentiment figures is people are scared. They don't know which for sure to be scared of, but they know they're scared of something.
Well, we've got the tariffs, but some have been moderated, definitely, and cut down by President Trump.
Right.
Others remain in place, and it is the widest slapping of tariffs on so many countries. As you look out where people buy things and what they order from, Amazon has got to be that #1 e-commerce site. Today, they confirmed to Fox Business in the Claman Countdown that they will be imposing a 3.5% fuel surcharge in response to these elevated costs in fuel and logistics, because it works its way through the system. And Amazon told us that, yes, we will do this due to the increased cost of operating across the industry. We have absorbed the losses, but we will temporarily impose these surcharges to partially recover these costs. Again, logistics-related surcharge to fulfillment fees, lower than surcharges applied to other major carriers. We remain committed to our selling partners' success and to maintaining broad selection and low prices for our customers. It was a year ago, April 10th,
Right.
that they tried to raise prices, or they even considered it because of the tariffs, and their
Right.
stock took a big hit. Today, it's not really taking a big hit because I think people understand that prices have to go up.
Well, exactly. And I think people also, for the most part, believe it will likely be temporary. And if you notice, that was the language that they used in the Amazon announcement.
Yes.
That a temporary thing. So I don't think it's really anything to do with permanent inflation. Sooner or later, Hormuz will be open, hopefully sooner. And at least in my mind's view, hopefully with some sort of an international consortium controlling the state.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Well, think about it. Iran has no sovereign rights over the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes, it's international waters. Who are they to decide that they should control the Hormuz Strait?
It just happens that Iran lives in a neighborhood with the same as this Hormuz Strait, but they don't own it. It's not their property. This is not like Panama Canal or Suez Canal. This is just a happenstance of nature.
Do you think President Trump, who did say earlier this week that he would consider ending the war without the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, do you think he's going to do that?
Well, it's so hard to follow exactly each day coming and going, but I do think we need a permanent solution to it, because Iran started this whole thing with several weapons. One was terrorism, informal terrorism. One was the threat of nuclear. Third was drones and fighting, trying to kill the Israelis. But there's also the fourth thing, and that's the Strait of Hormuz. And that's a third of world commerce. A third of fertilizers goes through there. A lot of naturally Oil goes through there, aluminum goes through there, helium, all kinds of stuff. It's wrong internationally for that country to be able to be disruptive. And if the UN were only a functional body, they would be a logical one to deal with it. But
don't hold your breath on that one.
no, I think it's more likely that the Western consuming countries and the Gulf exporting countries may very well get together on their own. And there may be a temporary need for U.S. to play a kinetic or other role to effect the transition. But I don't think longer term we should be controlling the strait.
Secretary Wilbur Ross, great to have you.
Thank you, Liz. Good to be on.
Thank you for joining the Claman Countdown. We are coming right back. Dow Jones Industrial still down about 112 points, but we stress way off the lows of the session.